We're on a mission from God.
Wendy. Sally!
So I got that going for me.
Darling.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Light of my life.
We enjoy your films.
I am a human being.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Welcome to Vintage Video, where we're rewatching the 80s so you don't have to. We'll be reviewing every major film release of the 1980s in real time, overanalyzing what you've seen and spoiling what you haven't. I'm Patrick O'Reilly.
I'm Jesse Bayless.
And I'm Richard Wells.
And today marks the 40th anniversary of the release of A Change of Seasons on December 1st, 1980. It was written by Erich Segal, Ronni Kern, and Fred Segal, based on a story by Erich. I'm guessing these guys are related because I pronounced their last name differently, but it's the same last name. Let me start that over. It was written by Erich Segal, Ronni Kern, and Fred Segal, based on a story by Erich Segal and Martin Ransohoff, directed by Richard Lang and Noel Black, and released by 20th Century Fox.
You know you're in for a good ride when there's like 5 writers and 2 directors.
2 directors, yeah, never a bad sign. The working title was Consenting Adults. In 1975, negotiations were underway for Audrey Hepburn to star, but that obviously fell apart. Noel Black was replaced as director after shooting the first half of the film. A rumor that he clashed with Bo Derek's husband, John Derek, was squashed by the film's press tour, though Mr. Derek does have a history of clashing with the filmmakers of his wife's filmography.
Yeah, I like the other title better. A Change of Seasons is a terrible title.
Yeah.
Consenting Adults makes more sense for this movie title.
I think they were trying to make it sound more artsy. Like
the 4 Seasons?
I guess.
Yeah.
Consenting Adults sounds a little racy, but I think it makes more sense.
Yeah, but it also sounds more like a silly hijinks movie, Consenting Adults, than A Change of Seasons makes it sound like they're trying to be Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf or something with it.
Yeah.
Which I feel like they're trying to at the beginning.
Yeah, but somebody should have told Shirley MacLaine that.
Yeah. Jack Cooper was offered the director chair, but passed before they landed on Mountain Men director Richard Lang. Hopkins said of working with MacLaine, "She was the most obnoxious actress I have ever worked with." In post, Bo Derek and Anthony Hopkins were called back for additional hot tub photography.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, that
If
was
I
an
must,
addition.
I must.
But why? Why did you add that? I mean,
you know, we want to know the real reason why? It's
for
sad.
more boobs?
It's because John Derek has a problem, and he likes showing his wife naked to other people.
This is absolutely the most outrageous and worst part of this movie. I'm like, why? I mean, obviously, I'm probably in a minority by saying that about Bo Derek's boobs being in a shot.
They are terrific boobs. I mean, don't get us wrong.
They're fabulous. I'm just saying, like, not only did the footage not match the rest of the movie in any way, shape, or form.
It doesn't fit the story at all.
It doesn't fit the story. And it just, like, it's out of nowhere. It doesn't ever come back. It doesn't weave in at all. It's just stupid.
And it's the poster.
Yeah. It's great.
Ugh.
This film was nominated for the Worst Actor for Hopkins, Worst Original Song for Where Do You Catch the Bus for Tomorrow?
Okay.
And Worst Screenplay by Erich Segal, Ronni Kern, and Fred Segal.
I only stand behind the song
Yeah,
nominations.
I totally
do not
think-
agree with the other nominations at all.
That's the most amazing song title.
Yeah.
That sounds like something like that Jerry from Rick and Morty would write.
Yeah. Or it sounds like something that you would hear on, like, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or something.
And all the king's horses and all the king's men can't put the pieces together again. Where do you catch the bus for tomorrow? 'Cause I've got to get out of today.
The song itself actually reminds me a lot of...
It's a changing world, but it's still fun.
Yeah, exactly, from Serial.
Yeah.
This is the third feature this year, commonly referred to as a spiritual sequel to Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, after Last Married Couple and Loving Couples. Loving Couples, which of course also starred Shirley MacLaine. We open with Hopkins and Bo Derek splashing around in a giant hot tub for some reason.
So infuriating.
In slow motion.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I actually wrote WTF, another hot tub scene.
Yeah.
I wrote, we open with tits.
Your note is better. You win.
We hear voiceover of Hopkins as a professor. He is Adam Evans, and he's teaching students about Shakespeare.
Oh, I thought he said he was William Shakespeare. That's what he says in his speech. I am William Shakespeare.
Maybe
I am 40. So I was like, what?
He shares with them a personal theory about Shakespeare's weather-related titles or something like that. I wasn't really paying attention. It loosely connects to the title of the film, but so loosely that they should have stuck with consenting adults. We see a woman walking around the campus with Adam for a moment before they part ways. This is Lindsey Rutledge, played by Bo Derek. A whistle blows, and we cut to a basketball game. Adam is complimenting a player, and a second professor seated next to him says, well, he's failing sociology because he has that player as a student. Adam says he'd trade the whole sociology department for one of that kid's sneakers, and the professor says, we've got to maintain standards, at which point his wife says that she likes the player's standards, and she's particularly fond of his ass. But when she gets to this line, the crowd is erupting in applause because he just scored a basket or something.
So
I like Bubba's standards. I particularly approve of his ass.
So that is the first of a couple of weird edits that I noticed. It seems like they were trying to curb the language.
Yeah.
But they weren't afraid to show the boobs.
Yeah. Because the audio comes up so loud that you can't hear what she's saying. You just have to guess what the last word is.
Right, but there's going to be other things later where they clearly
literally
overdubbed.
Yeah.
You know
like
what?
everything the daughter says.
Yeah.
The crowd cheering was probably... we might have been watching like a TV edit.
But it had boobs all over it, though.
It did have boobs all over it, but they literally overdubbed lines with different language that didn't match the lips in spots.
And there was a weird fade out with music, and the music faded out, and then immediately cut to another scene where the music was back up. I was like, oh.
I'm sure they cut stuff out because this editor would not have done that.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe it was a cobbled together version.
Maybe. Someone was like, I taped this off television, but it didn't have the boob parts, so I relentlessly sought them out and edited them back into the movie.
Maybe that's why the hot tub is such a weird edit at the beginning.
I think it's literally the way it was edited. It was just poorly edited.
But I don't think it was poorly edited.
We'll see. Professor Evans keeps staring across the game at Lindsey on the opposite side of the court. He gives her a little wave. The professors and their wives have a small dinner together. It looks like they're just having soup and beer. Adam says that he and his wife Karyn, played by Shirley MacLaine, are taking a 2-week vacation. He's excited to get away from the undergrads because they seem smarter and meaner every year. The sociology professor says that teaching co-eds is more like opening a Playboy because they get hotter every year. All of this is said right in front of their wives. As Adam and Karyn leave the party, they chuckle to themselves. Karyn accuses Adam of having an affair, and he is surprisingly quick to confirm, but tries to downplay it like it's no big deal.
Well, an affair. It sounds so romantic. I mean...
How about you're nailing a co-ed? Is that better?
Well, it's not such a big deal. Happened once, the beginning of term.
Once.
All right. Twice, more than once.
She runs ahead of him to their home, but the door is locked, so she has to wait for him. Apparently, they live just down the street from this other professor. Inside, she makes a drink and accuses him of sleeping with a co-ed because he wants to sleep with his own daughter, who's about the same age. There's actually some sharp dialogue here.
All right, I love you, but I'm smitten by her.
Bitten?
Smitten.
Oh, I thought you said bitten. I thought maybe you had rabies.
Maybe I have. I feel very sick.
Why don't I call you a vet?
Very funny.
I call myself a lawyer.
Look, it's a phase I'm going through. It's just like adolescence.
You can't have that twice, Adam.
Yes, you can. Once on each side.
On each side of what?
40.
Like, it's smart dialogue.
Well, you sound like surprised that there's smart dialogue here. I'm going to argue that there is really great dialogue throughout this whole movie.
Yeah.
And that it's actually very well written.
No, I don't disagree. I actually really like the dialogue. My problem is more with greater story elements than with specifically the talking that they do to each other.
Okay.
I think there are decisions that are made in the plot that confuse me.
Okay, well, we'll see when we get to it because I'm going to argue in favor of the script of this movie.
Yeah, no, I really like the dialogue. And honestly, this does feel on par with the pace of the arguments in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. The difference is that movie stays very uncomplicated, and it's just these two people arguing for the full length of a movie, and it stands on the dialogue alone. But this tries to throw a lot of stuff at it. Adam switches tactics and tries to explain to Karyn that men simply have different biological needs. He follows her upstairs and finds her knitting. She asks why he couldn't just lie about it, and here he is able to successfully lie that he respects her too much to lie to her.
Yeah. He respects her. That's why he's having an affair.
Right.
But he's got to be honest. And then she says, I don't want your respect. I want your fidelity.
It's like, you don't want his respect?
Well,
was like-
you can want both. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what is happening?
I think she prefers his fidelity.
But then they say she
He says fidelity is old-fashioned, and
Yeah.
she says, I'm old-fashioned.
I'm
That's what you
old-fashioned.
liked about me.
But like, even if fidelity is old-fashioned, fidelity is one of those things that you cannot like explicitly like ignore unless
Right.
you speak about it prior to ignoring it.
Right. That's the whole point of I respected you too much to lie, but I didn't respect you too much to omit. Like, if you respected her at all, you
Yeah.
would have told her up front.
Right.
Later that evening, he asks if she's feeling any better without having done anything to make her feel better, hoping that she is already over having been cheated on. She tells him about all the unappreciated work she puts into this marriage and talks about how their marriage was the only good one among their friends. They were supposed to be the happily married couple. He tells her to do nothing and she will feel better. He asks her to think about their daughter before doing anything rash like leaving him, and he thinks that she's overreacting. So he's just a cartoon of a terrible person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that their arguments here feel realistic to me, where he's sort of, blinded by his pompous attitude about the whole situation.
Right.
And she's not really saying a lot of smart things right now because she's just very hurt.
I think she's saying smart things.
I mean, I don't think that her arguments are all that great here.
Sure.
But I think that it feels realistic in the, I'm going to say this in the emotion of the moment.
Right. But I think what's weird about him is that he's pretending like he's a new kind of modern man that
Yeah.
cheats on his wife, and
No.
that's why he's... And it's like, no, that's been happening for millennia. Like, you didn't invent affairs, and you're not smart just because you can talk about it in, like, a literate way. She asks him if he's decided which woman he's bringing to Montreal for the upcoming trip. He says that he wasn't planning to bring either of them, and she asks if there's a third woman. Later still, they are sleeping in bed, and she says Adam, and unfortunately doesn't follow it with, I want a divorce. She says,
I want to go to Montreal.
I don't know why you'd want to spend more time with this guy. He just flat out says, no, maybe next time, which means I'm bringing the other girl, basically.
Yeah. But maybe she wanted to make an effort to fix it while they were on a trip. I mean...
Fix what?
Yeah, this is irreparably broken. He doesn't care about her.
No, I agree, but I'm just trying to find her motivation.
Yes. The next day, Karen's friend Alice, the sociology professor's wife, tells her not to call it quits. She convinces her that she wants Adam back. She admits that she and Sam have been through this whole process too. We cut to a truck parking.
Hold on. We need to unpack this conversation.
Yes.
Because this was my second note to you during my
Fuck this
You
movie.
were-
yeah.
You were infuriated.
Her friend Alice tells her that that you're not old as a man if you're over 40.
Yeah.
But you as a woman are, and that you have to grit your teeth and deal with it because he'll choose the other woman over you if you try to fight it. I was like, what kind of advice is this?
Oh, it's shitty advice, but I think that is the sort of going logic of the time of a lot of women.
Yeah.
I think that totally makes sense for what people thought at the time. I don't
Really?
absolutely 100%.
Ugh.
Yeah, it sucks, right?
I don't think that a lot of people think super differently right now.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, 40 might not be as old as it was then, I think that our sort of opinions of age might have shifted a little bit, but I mean, I think you're right. A lot of people's views on marriage are, you at a certain age, you just put up with it.
Yeah. I'm sure there are lots of people that are past 40 that are like, well, what am I going to find a new husband now? Of course not. I'm just going
Yeah.
to stick with this guy.
Though I am surprised that she's playing 41 here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and granted, I think of Shirley MacLaine as older because that's generally how I know her.
Yeah.
And she is 46 in this movie, so she's not that much older than what she's actually playing. But in my head, she's much older than that.
I just think of Robin Williams.
You need to go older.
Older? You mean like Shelley Winters older or Shirley MacLaine older?
What's the difference?
Some scotch tape and red hair dye.
It's funny because we've had Shelley Winters and Shirley MacLaine in a row here now.
Yeah.
The visitor in this. We cut to a truck parking in front of a house, and a man gets out with a sawhorse and a toolbox. The truck has like a fully built house in the bed of the truck with like a door on it and everything.
Yeah.
I thought they were getting some kind of shed delivered.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this guy's like delivering.
It's
I
just
think
a
it looks
whole-
awesome.
It's awesome. It's just a homemade mobile home on the back of a truck.
It's got a full-size door.
Yeah. When nobody answers the door to the house, he just walks in and starts some water boiling so he can make some coffee. Karyn spies on the man as he begins talking to a small bird that's flown up alongside their kitchen window. So this is really interesting. They have like branches strung up so that birds can sit on them outside the window, and and their bird feeder there so they can just watch them by the kitchen sink, but it's kind of open to the yard because he goes to make a peanut butter sandwich for the bird, and then he notices that it flew away from the window, and so he has to take it outside to the bird. But for some reason, he made it a
like
peanut butter
sandwich.
That was
like,
all they had in the kitchen that was remotely
just give
bird
the
food.
bird the bread. You don't need to put peanut butter on it.
Yeah. This guy's name is Pete, and he's here to make a bookcase for Adam's study. A cuckoo clock chimes, and the bird falls out of it. He tells Karyn that he could fix it. She tells Pete that she's going back to bed and invites him along, and he accepts. Unsurprisingly, Adam lied about not bringing either of them. He arrives at a fancy restaurant with Lindsey, and the maitre d' mistakes her for Adam's daughter, and Lindsey thinks this is hilarious because she's destroying someone's marriage and family.
Well, I think she just doesn't take anything as seriously as him.
Yeah.
A maitre d' would never do this.
Yeah. So
they know
so
too
loud.
well
Yeah.
not to comment on something like that.
As they sit down, Adam becomes very paranoid about the stares from other tables. She's being very touchy-feely, and it's making him uncomfortable, probably in part because he didn't correct the maitre d', who still thinks this is his daughter.
Well, also, we're assuming he's here for some kind of conference or something like that. So
He
some
might
of his
know some
peers,
of
Got
these people.
colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Though, at the same time, it's kind of frustrating to me that, and maybe this is also realistic, Anthony Hopkins is playing two very different characters here. Like, he is like bold and brazen and, you know, unapologetic to his wife about this. And here he is like timid and embarrassed and, you know, ashamed. And it just doesn't seem to jive that is the same character in relationship to the same people.
Unless that's what he gets off on. And that's the whole point of this relationship.
Is to upset his wife?
Or to embarrass himself, like he just enjoys the shame of it. Back at the house, Karyn and Pete are now laying in bed in matching bathrobes. She can't stop thinking about what she's just done, so Pete tickles her to distract her from thinking about it. They play a tickle trust game where they each raise their arms in the air and trust the other person not to tickle them before kissing some more. In Adam's hotel room, he tells Lindsey about the shows that they could see tonight, but he accidentally calls her Karyn. He asks if it upset her, and she says,
It makes me feel sorry for her.
For Karyn? Why?
what an asshole.
Yeah, but again, now he's back to that other character. It's just like in public, he's ashamed of this relationship, but in private, he's an asshole about it.
Yeah. It's like she signed on for this relationship. Like his wife totally gave him approval. Like, oh, why would you feel bad for her? She's fine with it. It's like, no, she's not. She had a breakdown when she found out about it. I also am pretty sure that he calls her Karyn on purpose here because he's just testing to see what her reaction is. Because he calls her Karyn and then he says, oh, I'm sorry. Did that upset you? Like immediately like wants to analyze it.
Mm-hmm.
She worries that Karyn will end up like her mother. When her parents divorced, her dad started dating teenagers and her mom became addicted to soap operas. Adam says that Karyn hates television and Lindsey invites him into the shower in his pajamas, so he joins her. Back at home, Karyn and Pete share a pizza and then an open-mouth kiss with pizza still in their mouths. No, thank you.
There's a lot of food-related foreplay with them.
Well, there's something that was sort of skimmed over when he came into the house. When he was shuffling through their fridge, he was commenting about how healthy their food was.
Oh, because it was all like organic stuff.
And you're like, oh, these people want to live forever. And, and then when they're eating the pizza, she makes the comment of, I haven't ordered a pizza in 20 years.
Yeah. Adam tries to drop Lindsey off a block from his house, but she refuses to get out, so he gets out and walks the rest of the way because he doesn't want to embarrass his wife by getting out of the car in their front yard.
Yeah. No, he's ashamed. Anytime he's in public, he's ashamed of this relationship.
But when he walks in, the house is a mess. Oh, sorry.
When Lindsey pulls away here, the shot cuts right as she's about to
drive
the
off
curb
the curb. Yeah.
because she's taking such a wide U-ey.
Yeah. When he walks into the house, it's a mess. All of his sports stuff has been dumped down the staircase. He finds Karyn in her underwear with Pete upstairs. In his office, which was supposed to have one new bookcase against a wall, the entire wall the whole way around the room is now bookcases because she's invited him to just stick around and keep working on stuff. Adam seems upset to find them this way, but it's not clear why. I don't understand why he's so upset about his wife cheating on him. She asks if Lindsey enjoyed Montreal, and he lies for an eighth of a second before admitting, yes, she came and she had fun. He demands an explanation from her, but I can't tell which part he needs explained. She apologizes to him when she sees how upset he is, even though, as far as I recall, he never apologized to her.
Yeah.
He just said, this is a thing that happens. Deal with it.
Oh, yeah. He's infuriatingly hypocritical.
Yeah. On his way out, Pete tells Adam that his wife is a lovely woman.
You know, your wife's a lovely woman.
You don't have to tell me that, do you?
Yeah, I think I do.
The cuckoo chimes again, and it's fixed. Upstairs, Karyn approaches Adam to ask what his plans are for the 2-week vacation. She wants to know if he's bringing Lindsey to the cabin, and then asks how he'd feel if she came along. He thinks that having her as a third wheel would be awkward and uncomfortable, but she doubles down by suggesting she bring along Pete. Adam can't tell if she's being serious or not, and says that he can't be sure Lindsey would be comfortable with it.
Look at it this way. We'd look like a family outing. Just you and me and the kids.
Turns out Lindsey is relieved not to have to hide things. The morning of the drive out to the cabin, Adam and Karyn bicker for a bit until Pete rings the doorbell.
We missed a moment, though.
Did we?
When she's in there talking to him about this, I believe he was exercising when she walks in.
Right.
This is the moment that I have confirmed. Not only is he a monster for cheating on his wife, but he is a monster in all aspects of life because he is jump roping in his house on hardwood floors.
Mm-hmm. It's very strange.
Go outside, you monster. Also, they have exercise equipment all over this room that is now built into the bookshelves. Like, there was literally space, cut left off of the bookshelves so that, his weightlifting machine could fit inside of it. I just thought it was such an odd choice to have this room
to combine those two,
filled with it's got office stuff, it's got bookshelves, and it's got gym equipment that is like a permanent installation now.
It's a bizarre built-in that you're going to have a tough time handing off to the next buyer.
And for someone who seems like he's so interested in being physically fit, he doesn't seem particularly physically fit.
No, I think this is a newfound thing where he's trying to stay fit for his new young girlfriend.
That makes sense.
I don't think he cares about his wife enough to work out regularly. Although he does have that built in now.
And they have healthy food.
They do. The morning of the drive out to the cabin, Adam and Karyn bicker a bit before Pete rings the doorbell. He takes Karen's hand and says,
"Cold hand?"
I have a warm heart.
Which is our second reference to the phrase "cold hands, warm heart" after Terror Train earlier this year.
I was just trying to think of what that was from, and I was thinking it was like them having sex in the train compartment.
Yeah, and the hand was a dead person's hand.
Okay.
Cold hands, warm heart.
When Lindsey arrives, they make their introductions and hit the road. Pete's pickup seems fun. Karyn is laughing and balances a 3-foot sandwich on her head before swinging it around the cab. In Adam's car, Lindsey looks bored and changes the radio station away from classic to rock, but he changes it back. And then back in Pete's car, he and Karyn are going Lady and the Tramp on this sandwich while he drives.
That's so weird.
It's so frustrating because I feel like we have these really serious dialogue moments and these really earnest conversations. And then Shirley MacLaine does all this stuff that I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and I feel like it's supposed to be, I think it's being improvised. And I'm impressed with the structural integrity of prop sandwich.
Yeah.
Because I expected this thing to just be
Fall
falling
apart.
apart the whole time she's swinging it around.
Yeah, I guess. But that aside, all of these scenes where I understand that she's trying to be really playful with her younger counterpart, and she's supposed to be having more fun than she did with her husband, but she's taking it so far that it's super obnoxious.
Yeah, like balancing a sandwich on your head doesn't look like you're just being youthful. It looks like you're being an idiot.
Yeah, and I'm just like this. Like, I don't understand why this guy would be attracted to her when she's acting like this,
or in general.
But like, additionally, I think it just cheapens the whole movie, and everything that it had going for it gets buried under her performances here.
Yeah,
and if you cut out all of Shirley MacLaine laughing maniacally at nothing,
it's a good 20 minutes
yeah,
shorter.
I was just like, she's just laughing in every scene.
Yeah,
and I get like she says a line about it later. It's like, I've laughed so much. It's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
That was weird.
We never cut it.
Should see a doctor.
You might have that thing that the Joker has.
Yeah. Have you been using 2 different hygiene chemicals lately? Smilex. While he's driving, he's having to swerve around oncoming traffic at the last second because he's not paying attention to the road because of how distracting she's being. Karyn gets to the cabin, and Pete is very impressed with it. She guesses that Adam and Lindsey are already on the slopes, and we cut to the slopes for the Razzie-nominated Where Do I Catch the Bus for Tomorrow? Over footage of Adam and Lindsey skiing. Adam skids out and crashes, and Lindsey jumps on him and rubs snow in his face. Back at the cabin, Pete is prepping dinner while Adam makes both of them drinks, and he kind of picks on Pete for being able to chop up vegetables. Like, what an idiot.
But let's talk about this. Who cuts an onion like that? He literally puts he cuts an onion in half and then puts the round side down and starts trying to cut it, and it's very awkward. He cannot cut this onion. And then they continue to talk, and he gets to the second half of the onion, and he flips it over and puts the round side down and struggles to cut this onion. I'm like, has this man never cut an onion before? What is he doing?
I did not even notice this was happening. That's how inept I am in the kitchen. I would just be like, don't you just throw it in the air and swing a knife at it? I don't know how to do it. That looks much easier than my way.
Fruit Ninja.
Yeah. You're watching, it's like, that's a really weird way to cut a cucumber.
Adam asks Pete what his intentions are with Karyn. He says he's going to take it one day at a time and turns the question on Adam. Where does she fit into your plans?
Yeah, well, I like it where I am, see.
She hates it where you are.
She never told me that.
She never told me either.
Which I really like that line. It's like,
yeah,
you don't fucking pay attention to her. You have no idea what she wants.
Yeah. I think that, I'm arguing in favor of the script here. It definitely doesn't earn the Razzie nomination.
Right.
It's what I think is really great about it is that obviously our 2 main characters are sort of in their own world of problems, but every other character around them, their 2 younger counterparts, and their daughter even later, they all have really high emotional intelligence in everything that they respond to them with, and they're just telling them, really honest feedback. And
this Pete character seems relatively flawless.
Yeah, and I think that it's really great because I think that a lot of these movies, you don't get this kind of high emotional intelligence feedback that you're getting here, and it makes for such honest conversations.
Yeah. Later, they all seem bored together around the fireplace. Adam teases Pete's cooking prowess with the first half of a poem about soup, and Adam is able to finish it from memory because he likes poetry enough to read and memorize it.
My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires and more slow.
But at my back I always hear time's winged chariot hurrying near.
Lindsey thinks it's time to go to bed, and they divvy up the bedrooms before disappearing to their separate quarters. All the couples kiss except for Pete and Lindsey, although she does invite him to.
Are you going to kiss me goodnight, Pete?
No, we're not married.
Karyn and Adam both have mental blocks that prevent them from having sex in the same house as their spouse. Pete solves this problem by carrying Karyn out to the shed in the yard where they stay the night.
It's his home. It's not a shed in the
yard. It is a shed. It's going to be freezing in there.
It's a mobile home, and it's got a wood-burning stove.
It does have, they're like cuddling around the stove as they're...
That is a perfectly acceptable home.
Not in the snow, I don't think. I don't think you live in this thing in the snow.
Yes, it's fine.
It's going to be 2 degrees in this thing.
And this is where we had that really weird cut where Anthony Hopkins is like looking out longingly out the window, and the music is playing, and then it fades down and fades to black, and then
the music is full volume after the cut.
Yeah, and right as soon as it comes back up, it's like boom. It's like, oh, what? I feel like this was a commercial break, but I didn't get one.
I wanted a commercial. Which vacuum should I buy? The next day, Adam and Lindsey hit the slopes again. When they stop halfway down the hill, just in the path of other skiers, a couple men slide up to them and suggest a 4-way race to the bottom.
Hey, how about a race? Just the 4 of us. The winner gets her.
Oh, I'm already spoken for.
Are you? Mm-hmm. Well, just for fun then. What do you say?
Adam seems insulted that she didn't think he would win, so they decide to race each other down, just the 2 of them, Adam and Lindsey. And he wins, because I think she let him win. At the hotel bar later, Adam and Lindsey step to the dance floor when the same guys show up again.
This isn't a bar. This is just a noise and light factory. Because
that's what a bar is.
There's so many lights spinning on the ceiling, and they were like.
There should be at least 4 patrons just collapsed having seizures.
I know. I was like, "What is this place? Is this a ski lodge?
It's a disco ski chalet."
Oh, I did not know what was going on here.
But they go to the dance floor and the guys try to cut in on their dance, the same 2 guys from the slopes. Adam and Lindsey both make it very clear that they aren't interested, but they won't let go of Lindsey until Adam starts throwing punches. Adam takes one guy down, but then the other guy knocks him down. And when Karyn and Pete see this going on from their table, Karyn runs to see what's happening and gives Pete a look like, get in there and do something. So Pete pummels one of the guys and just knocks him out of the fight. And then the other guy, he just keeps punching him over and over again into this column. Mm-hmm. And it looks like he's like losing control of himself. And when he stands back up, he looks back at her, and she seems pissed off that he did that.
Yeah,
which is
It's
weird.
like, you asked him to do that.
And he needed to do it. He needed to step in.
It was necessary.
And he should have, because he needed to stop these guys from harassing their friend.
But he can read on her face that she's so pissed off that he leaves.
Why is she pissed off? But also, this plays no bearing in the rest of the film.
Right. And they set it up to look like he has these untouched upon anger issues that are going to develop over the course of the story. No, we never even hint at this again. But he punches this guy mercilessly over and over again, and then on his way out, he punches the wall of the place. And you're like, okay, this guy has anger issues that we're going to have to deal with. And it never comes up again.
Yeah, it's very strange.
And they never even have a conversation to sort it out. Like, they're just back to normal when they get back to the cabin. In the morning, Adam's daughter Kasey enters the bedroom and apologizes for waking up Lindsey. She doesn't know who Lindsey is, but she doesn't realize that her dad is sleeping on the other side of her. And when she's trying to figure out who this lady is, Adam sits up and she's like, oh shit, and walks out into the living room just having a panic attack.
But she doesn't say, oh shit.
Right. She says holy smokes. But her mouth is saying holy shit.
And then there's a whole other line that she gives later.
That you can't read any of it.
Yeah. I'm dying to know what she originally says.
Yeah.
But she quickly realizes that her father and his girlfriend have been sleeping together in her bed and is very grossed out about this. She says that she came to the cabin to ask for her father's help with some schoolwork.
You and this person are making it in my bed. Holy smoke.
But again, only her voice is saying holy smoke. Everything is holy shit here. Not clear why, but there are plenty of shots of Bo Derek's boobs in the movie, so it's not like this was a TV edit. She asks her father if she's a student or something, and he confirms.
What are you, take-home quiz?
I liked that line. Just then, Karyn comes down the stairs, and she's excited to see her mom until Pete follows her down, and she's grossed out again. They ask Pete and Lindsey to step outside so they can explain things to Kasey. She thinks it's disgusting and unhealthy what they're doing, but Adam counters by pointing out how they've never criticized all of her crappy boyfriends over the years. Pete and Lindsey chat outside about this bizarre situation, and Lindsey makes a snowball to throw at the house in anger because she's been kicked out of this conversation. Like, first of all, you're the one who decided to have sex with this married guy, and he's allowed to have a private conversation with his wife and daughter. Like, you don't need to be a part of this. You're not a family member just because you're having sex with him.
Yeah, and she was well aware that he had a daughter, and
that
the daughter didn't know about this relationship.
Yeah, she knew she was destroying a family. Inside, they remind Kasey that whatever's going on, they still love her, and they ask again why she's here. She admits that her boyfriend Paul is missing. They had a big fight, and now she can't find him. Apparently, he wants to have an open relationship, and she doesn't, so she's basically trying to marry her father. Pete pops in to tell them that Lindsey left. She's headed out to her father's place because she's so insulted by Adam kicking her out of the house for 5 seconds. Adam decides that he's done consoling his daughter and leaves after her in Pete's truck. Like, he just feels like he's obligated to the truck. He's like, give me the keys. I'm going to follow her
and
now.
Pete just let him have it.
And that's the last car. So now they're stuck in this cabin.
Right.
Because I don't know how Kasey got there.
That's true. There's not another car
I think
for
she
her.
took a cab, didn't she?
Oh, maybe, yeah. Yeah, a cab dropped her off. You're right. That Razzie song kicks up again, and I'm warming up to its nomination. The truck breaks down, and he leaves it on the freeway, or I guess just runs out of gas, and he doesn't know how to use it. He hitches a ride in a truck full of animals.
But he abandons this thing on the side of the freeway.
Yeah.
And you think, cool, you're going to go get some gas and fill it up and keep driving it.
Nope, he just goes where he was going to go.
He goes where he's going to go. But you're not just abandoning a car on the side of the freeway. This is his home.
Yeah.
You left his home probably unlocked on the side of the freeway.
On a frozen road on a turn
Yeah.
where someone's going to crash into it and destroy all of his shit. Adam pulls up to a giant mansion, and that's apparently Lindsey's home, and he walks inside and chats with Lindsey's father, who offers to send him home with a few of the lobsters that he cultivates in his living room.
Mhm.
Like, his entire living room is crowded with fish tanks full of lobsters that he grows himself.
You gotta have a hobby.
I guess. He asks if Lindsey's having trouble in school, and Adam is an idiot, so he has to ask why her father would even think that. When Dad finally puts 2 and 2 together, he's very upset, and then Lindsey starts throwing all of his affairs with young women in his face, like, oh, this is exactly what you did. I don't know why you think it's so gross when I'm a part of it.
But also, Lindsey is like excited to see Adam.
Yeah.
Like, she's happy to see him. It's like, didn't you just leave in a
Didn't you have a
huff?
temper tantrum?
Right.
I understand how you feel, Mr. Rutledge, because I have a daughter of my own.
And I really wanted Rutledge to ask, is she single?
Oh, God.
Back at the cabin, Kasey and Pete have a conversation. Kasey wants him to leave immediately, but Pete says he likes being with Karyn, and he has no intention of leaving. Plus, her dad took his truck, so he can't go anywhere. Kasey asks him to consider the consequences of his actions and not live so spontaneously, and he tells her the story of his non-spontaneous parents who did everything by the book and were killed in a freak accident when a truck jackknifed on the freeway. This wasn't tragic enough, so he continues that he used the insurance money from their deaths to buy a farm upstate. He tried to be safe and secure. He married a woman who got pregnant, but then the Forest Service started testing herbicides near their land, and it poisoned the water table, and his wife lost the baby. She couldn't get over that, so she left him. So he's lost everything in his life.
Yeah.
And he decided he's not making plans anymore.
Holy shit, Pete. This
Yeah.
just got real.
Yeah, it got super dark all of a sudden. Yeah. I feel like we could have left it at my parents died in an
Yeah.
accident. It didn't need to go this dark.
Yeah.
Is this why you have those anger issues that we don't talk about?
Yeah, that we'll never talk about again? Because you want to punch a forestry ranger? Back at the Rutledge estate, Daddy invites himself along for the ride to the Vermont cabin. Apparently, do they pick up the truck on their way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karyn and Kasey go for a walk together. Kasey comes to terms with her mom doing what makes her happy. Kasey tells Karyn that her boyfriend left for Mexico with some waitress, so it's basically over. Don't have to worry about that. Adam, Lindsey, and Mr. Rutledge show up, and Rutledge is understandably confused when he's introduced to Adam's wife among the crowd at the cabin. When he learns that Pete is not Kasey's boyfriend, but Karyn's, he turns to leave immediately. This is too much for him to deal with. He's like, oh, sorry, here's the lobsters, I gotta go. Because he brought lobsters as like a
And he has like a
housewarming gift.
lobster carrying case?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like it. It's like made of acrylic. It's nice.
Yeah. Lindsey tries to stop him when Kasey informs him that she's into older men, and that about does it for Mr. Rutledge. He's done. He tells Lindsey that he's ashamed of her, and he walks out. Outside, a taxi pulls up, and the driver approaches Mr. Rutledge to pledge his loyalty to Rutledge's daughter. So this is the second taxi that pulls up, and it's Kasey's boyfriend, who is getting here and mistaking Mr. Rutledge for Mr. Evans, and is saying, I love your daughter, I'm in love with your daughter. But it turns out...
and Rutledge is keen, at least on this. Like,
is he?
I think so. He's like, oh, okay, this is someone my daughter's age.
Yeah.
I can get him to break this whole situation up.
Yeah.
I thought that he just like, oh, there's another guy that wants to be with Lindsey. I don't understand.
But I think he's more okay with it than the other situation.
Because he comes back in.
Yeah.
I think he wants to see how this plays out.
Yeah. So Rutledge follows him inside, and everyone explains who they are, and everything gets straightened out. Paul, the boyfriend, tells Adam and Karyn that he intends to marry their daughter. Adam starts to quiz him to see if he's worthy.
You love her? Well, love, as Freud says, is the overestimation of the sex object. In that respect, I certainly do.
So weird answer.
So flattering.
Yeah.
I overestimate your daughter at every moment.
Your daughter, a.k.a. my sex object. Once Paul understands who everybody is, he expresses his disapproval and ends up picking a fight with Mr. Rutledge for some reason, the only person who he should agree with in this house. The two shout back and forth until Pete starts pounding on things in the kitchen to get everybody's attention. And it's like, oh, is this the anger issues coming back? No, it's literally he's just trying to get people's attention. He almost says something to Paul and Rutledge, but then decides that it's just time to go. And he turns around and he walks out of the building. Karyn follows him out, but ultimately lets him go. And Adam tries to eavesdrop on their goodbyes, and they tell him to go back inside. Adam warns Pete that there's only a gallon of gas left in the truck, and Pete says, well, there's a second tank. So, like, there's probably just a switch on the dash that he could have switched tanks, but he didn't know that, so the car died. Paul and Kasey leave to get a head start on their lives together. Rutledge, and it's weird that Pete is gone from the story.
Yeah.
That he walked out and they said their goodbyes, and it was just kind of like, yep, I'm spontaneous. This wasn't going to last. Bye. And then he leaves.
I mean, I think that they have a moment of understanding, though, that she gets that what they're doing isn't right for him, and it's probably not right for her. And
why is it not right for him?
Because I don't think he's over all of that stuff that's happened. And his solution is to just keep sort of running from it. And so I'm not saying that that's the right solution.
I thought that he assumed their relationship was a bad fit for her life because of all this chaos going on in the cabin.
Yeah, maybe.
But really, their daughter had basically gotten over it by the time this car came back with Mr. Rutledge.
Oh, I don't think that's why he left. I think he left because she wanted more stability and he wanted to sort of keep running from problems.
Yeah. Paul and Kasey leave to get a head start on their lives together. They've completely made up and they've decided they're going to go get married. Paul says he's not interested in having the multiple wives anymore, and he just wants to settle down with her, and they're gonna take it seriously. And apparently her parents are like, okay, go do that, that's fine. Rutledge threatens to leave again, and I suddenly realize that we now have 2 men and 2 women left in the house. Karyn convinces him to stay, and she'll prepare some of the lobsters he brought along. It seems like Adam and Lindsey have gone to bed, and Karyn and Rutledge are left to enjoy some after-dinner wine in private. The 2 of them discuss Karyn's new position, and he tries to convey what happens in the male brain after 40. Adam and Lindsey return from outside, so not sleeping, I guess, and Rutledge takes his last chance to leave the party. Karyn heads upstairs to sleep, and Adam wonders how she's going to clean the dishes from upstairs after cooking dinner for all of them, because he's still the same shitty guy that he started the movie as.
Yes.
The next morning, there's a knock at the door while Adam and Lindsey are presumably out skiing, and Karyn answers it. It's Mr. Rutledge. Adam and Lindsey arrive to an empty cabin, and Lindsey finds a note from Karyn that she went out to dinner with him. Adam is so distracted by the letter and his petty jealousy that he can't hear Lindsey proposing sex right now. He plans to interrupt their dinner, and I can already tell that the movie should have ended with him finding this note and not a clumsy restaurant scene. We see a bit of Steve Rutledge and Karyn flirting at a restaurant, and then Adam and Lindsey pull up to the place. The letter didn't say where they were going for dinner, but somehow Adam guesses correctly that it's this restaurant.
Not many
They're
places
in a tiny
around.
Vermont town. There's probably only one place you go to dinner.
Well, they could have gone to that
crazy light-up disco bar.
Disco ski chalet.
Adam sees her at the table with Steve and then steps back outside. Lindsey understands everything. Adam was never completely intimidated by Pete because he was a revenge fling and he was a child basically, but Steve here is a man, and as much as he pretended to Lindsey, he never actually intended to leave his wife for her. So Lindsey realizes here that she was also a fling, that this was just going to be a short-term thing that he did. Lindsey leaves him there at the restaurant for good, and Karyn notices Adam out the window getting stranded in the parking lot. Instead of laughing heartily, which she should have done, she looks concerned, and I'm already worried about where this is going.
Yeah.
Karyn heads out to the door to speak with him, but she catches herself and thinks for 5 seconds, and then turns around and goes back to the table with Steve. Thank God.
And I scream with excitement that one of these movies actually ended with the woman making the right choice to not go back to the horrible man.
We've had like 6 or 7 midlife crisis movies this year, and this is the first one where the couple doesn't just ignore all the shitty things they did to each other and get back together at the end of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, two yells of excitement in a row, because I was thrilled when Lindsey left him, and then I'm thrilled when she decides not to go back.
And then we end with Adam being too proud to go inside and ask for a ride back, so he just walks through the snow back to the cabin.
I hope he dies.
Yeah, I hope he gets hit by a truck on the way back.
He might do just as well as Lindsey, who's driving a Porsche in the snow, which was infuriating in every scene I saw it in.
Yeah. Our director here was Richard Lang. He has all TV credits except for directing both this and The Mountain Men in 1980. Our fired director was Noel Black, who directed movies called Skater Dater and Pretty Poison, and he also wrote Mischief in 1985. The writer/story came from Erich Segal, who wrote Yellow Submarine in 1968, and The Games, RPM, and Love Story in 1970. He had 3 titles in 1970. We'd know his work better if we were doing a 1970 podcast, but we're doing a 1980 podcast. The other story credit belongs to Martin Ransohoff. This was his last writing credit, but he has lots of producing, including episodes of Beverly Hillbillies TV show, The Fearless Vampire Killers, Ice Station Zebra, Catch-22, The Mountain Men, and Ralph Bakshi's American Pop next year. Writer Ronni Kern also wrote Bakshi's Pop, and a couple of Jesse Stone TV movies more recently. Those are the, what's his name? Quigley Down Under.
Oh, yeah, Tom Selleck.
Yeah. Music here was from Henry Mancini. He did the music for Breakfast at Tiffany's. He did the Pink Panther theme. He was a composer for Newhart. He also did 10 with Bo Derek and Little Miss Marker earlier this year, as well as the Peter Gunn theme, which we heard in Blues Brothers. He'll be back next year with S.O.B. and Condor Man. And even later, he does the composing for Life Force and Ghost Dad. Editor Don Zimmerman. He was an editor on Heaven Can Wait and Being There before this. He went on to edit Rocky 3 and 4, Cobra, Over the Top, Diggstown, Ace Ventura Pet Detective, The Nutty Professor, Liar Liar, Half Baked, Galaxy Quest, Rush Hour 3, Men in Black 3, Bill and Ted 3. So a lot of 3s.
Yeah.
And did you work with Don, or did you work with one of his sons?
I worked with one of his sons. He has 2 twin boys, Dan and Dean Zimmerman, and they're both editors. But I worked with Dan on Max Payne.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our DP here was Philip H. Lathrop. This was his second Shirley MacLaine wife swap movie in 1980, because he also did Loving Couples, and he also was the DP for Foolin' Around. Shirley MacLaine played Karen Evans. She's Aurora Greenway in Terms of Endearment. She's Fran Kubelik, the elevator girl in The Apartment. She played Weezer Boudreau in Steel Magnolias, and Catherine Richelieu, basically Mrs. Robinson, in The Graduate 2, aka Rumor Has It. She also appeared earlier this year in the remarkably similar plotted Loving Couples. Anthony Hopkins played Adam Evans. He has an Oscar for Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs. He's Corky and Fats in Magic. He's Van Helsing in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Ludlow in Legends of the Fall, Nixon in Nixon, John Quincy Adams in Amistad, and he's Odin in the MCU. And we also had him earlier this year in The Elephant Man. Bo Derek was Lindsey Rutledge. She plays Beverly in Tommy Boy. She's the 10 in 10. She's Katie O'Dare Scott in Ghosts Can't Do It. And Jane Parker in next year's Tarzan the Ape Man.
And she plays Annie in Orca.
Oh, of course. How could I leave Orca off the list?
You can't not mention Orca.
Michael Brandon played Peter Lachapelle. He was Elliot Salad in Episodes. He's the narrator on a shitload of Thomas and Friends, like Thomas the Train Engine. And he played Senator Brandt in Captain America 1. Mary Beth Hurt was Kasey Evans, the daughter. She plays Joey in Interiors. She's Helen Holm in The World According to Garp. Joyce Richardson in Daryl. Judge Brewster in The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And Mrs. Bell in Lady in the Water, that Shyamalan movie.
She's also married when she made this movie, she was married to John Hurt.
Oh, was she really?
Yeah, and shortly after, a couple of years after, she divorced him and married writer-director Paul Schrader.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, who wrote Taxi Driver and Raging Bull.
Weird. So I wonder if she knew Anthony Hopkins from having John Hurt and Anthony Hopkins work together, and he suggested her for this or something.
I don't know.
Edward Winter played Stephen Rutledge. He was Gebhardt in Porky's 2. He's Mr. Crawford on Herman's Head, and he's the voice of Dr. Buzzcut on Ah Real Monsters. Paul Regina played Paul DeLisi. That's Kasey's boyfriend in this film. He wrote a movie called Jessie, Jesse, but he doesn't have a lot of acting credits. Kay Callan played Alice Bingham. That's the sociology professor's wife. She played Lisa Williams in American Gigolo. She was Ma Kent on Lois and Clark. She's Judy Sherman on Veep, Mary Lou Coran in Joe, and Great Nana Wanetta in Knives Out. She's Christopher Plummer's mother that just sits in a chair by the window all night. Billy Beck played Older Man. He played the Can Man in the 88 Blob. He played Old Man in Mystery Men, and he's the motel manager in Near Dark.
I think it's just weird that you keep the last name of Hurt after you divorce him and marry another guy. Isn't that weird?
A little bit. That hurt stays with you.
Well, when I was working on My House Is Worth What, we had a realtor whose last name was Sutherland because she was a former wife of Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh,
but she had since remarried.
Yeah.
But she wanted to keep that name
for star power
for that story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I get the idea of keeping your name because also you have screen credits under that name and you don't want to change it.
Or like you're just collecting them, like Selma Bouvier Twillinger, Hutz McClure.
Yeah.
But I think she married more people after I stopped watching the show. I just remember the last time I heard her say her full name, that's what it was. And that's when I was like, wait, when did she marry Lionel Hutz? I remember the other people. But that was when Homer was trying to convince her to marry a Pooh so he could stay in the country. She's like, I can't add Nahasa Pima, whatever. This movie is fun. I like the script. I like the performances from almost everybody except for Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah.
Because she's going overboard
Yeah.
with the kookiness. And I think that it wasn't necessary to make this into such a farce by the end to introduce 4 or 5 new characters in the third act. I think it would have been fine if the daughter was the last person to enter the story.
I don't know about the end bit. I don't know if I totally agree. I'm kind of fine with how that plays out. If you had just tightened take out the cheesy music. That song has got to go.
Well, that's 1980.
And we tone down Shirley MacLaine and tell her what kind of movie she's actually making. Say this is not Loving Couples. This is a more serious film.
You're not dancing in your living room in a shirt that's 5 times too big.
Yeah. This isn't quirky and fun. These are serious conversations, and tone it down a bit. You could still have fun moments, but
because she's having so much fun that it looks like she's faking it to piss off her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it looks like she's not having any fun because she's just pretending the whole time.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the end, again, if everybody just kind of toned it down a half a notch, I think it would have been fine to have those storylines wrapped up that way.
Yeah.
And I disagree with taking the ending off. We absolutely need the restaurant scene to have those
I'm fine with the restaurant scene. Yeah. I actually, that was just my prediction at the time that there was going to be some dumb restaurant scene that ends with her ending up with Anthony Hopkins. That's what I was worried was going to happen.
I was like, I wouldn't end it at the note. I was grateful that both these women rejected him at the end.
Yeah, no, I appreciated where it ended up. That was just my note as I was doing it live.
Yeah. And I appreciate too that I don't think that we necessarily I think we know that Shirley MacLaine at this point is smart enough that this guy may or may not be he's got the same problems that her husband had in terms of dating younger women, so this guy might not be the answer. But I'm
that's my bigger problem.
Not going
is that
back to the old husband.
Literally all we know about this guy is that he cheats on his wife. And he has, I guess he didn't cheat on her because they divorced before he started marrying or dating younger girls. But all we know about him is that he's interested in younger women and that he doesn't care about his ex-wife. And so it seems weird that we would leave her in his hands when she's been in the hands of a caring, decent guy the whole time who's only been left and cheated on himself.
But I think that we have learned by the end of the film that because she has a line at some point where she's like, he gave me my freedom when he did this. He gave me my freedom. And I think that is the moment that we realize that she's like, you know what? I can do my own thing. I can be happy. I can make my own choices. And I don't think that means that she's necessarily going to end up with this guy. It just means that she's like, you know what? I'm going to have fun.
Yeah, I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to cater to Adam's every need.
Yeah.
Because that's a waste of my time.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah.
Richard's making a horrible face.
Did you still hate it as much at the end?
I did not like this movie. I couldn't get over this concept of why are you still with him? Why is this whole thing? Why are you going out to a cabin with him? Like that to me was just boggling my mind. Why would let him go to the cabin with Lindsey? Why does she
have the house to yourself?
Yeah, why is she so adamant about going?
But I think at the time it was because she wanted to rub her affair in his face,
Yeah.
because that bothered him more than his affair bothered her.
I think that our two main characters make a lot of childish choices in this movie, but I think that is realistic in their anger and frustration and processing of what is happening, and the saving redemption of this movie is that everyone around them is telling them as it is, telling them how they should be feeling and should be reacting, and pointing out the folly of what they're doing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's still a societal understanding that older women have a tougher time finding a new relationship than older men do.
But is that required? Are we required to have her have another relationship by the end of this movie? It seems like the only reason that she wants to stay, like she's been given all this advice. Oh, you might lose your husband. Good.
But
get rid of him.
In her situation, she doesn't work. She is supported completely by his salary.
And she still will be when they get divorced.
Yeah, but not forever.
No, not forever, but she has now time to concentrate on herself. She can do what she wants. She's still in that situation now.
But why do you feel that this movie is counter to anything you just said?
Because she's working so hard to be around him.
Well, because she's married to him. That's her husband, and she cares about him.
She shouldn't be married to him.
Right, but that's not how the real world works. Like, you can flip a switch and say, oh, you cheated on me? Okay, I'm not in love with you. Bye, and leave. But that's not real. Like, what would really happen is, this is a person I've invested so much of my life in, and I thought I was going to grow old with. Maybe there's a way I can fix this. That would be a realistic first thought.
God, I hope not.
I think that's what 99% of people would do. I think there's 1% of people that would go, oh, you cheated on me? Oh, okay. Well, then I guess we're done. And just walk away. I don't think that's a normal reaction. I'm not saying it's incorrect. Yeah. I'm just saying I don't think the normal reaction to finding out you've been cheated on is to just completely dissociate from the other person.
I totally agree. I think that it takes time to process. And I think what we're seeing for the most part in this film is kind of the early stages of their processing, which for the most part is kind of, bitter and childish and full of anger and, bad choices. But I think that they're processing.
Yeah. But that's not enjoyable to watch for me.
Sure.
That's where I'm getting. It's like none of this was enjoyable.
Well, they're trying to make it wacky by throwing 12 characters in a cabin by the end of the movie.
I don't respect him immediately, and I respect her less and less as the movie goes on.
The more that she's trying to be with him and around him.
And then at this point, I'm just like, why am I even watching this anymore?
Yeah. Just watching people self-destruct.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the dialogue around those conversations.
I also think the end justifies the means, that she learns the lesson of, oh, this guy was a mistake for me, and I can do what I want now. The end. Yeah. And then I'm going
to go with this guy who has affairs with
It's not going with this guy. It's doing what I want. And in this moment,
this guy's paying for my dinner today.
I'm going to enjoy my dinner and take the compliments he's giving me and
I'll hang
enjoy
out with the rock lobster for a bit, and then when I get bored of him, I'll move on to whatever else I want to do.
Yeah.
And collect money from my husband.
I mean, maybe I looked at this film more favorably than I should because we've had so many divorce comedies and
they
stuff.
all end with the people going like, you know what? We were married for a reason, right? And it's like, no. You guys hate each other.
And this movie wasn't that for me. This movie was full of insightful dialogue. This movie ended the way I wanted it to end. Yeah. And I had such low expectations going in that I was just surprised every step of the way.
Yeah, like in Middle-Aged Crazy, Bruce Dern's just cheating on his wife the whole time. He hits her when she finds out that she cheated back. Mm-hmm. And then the two of them at the end are just like, oh, but we're married, so let's just stay married. And they're like, yep, happy ending. Yeah. And Last Married Couple, like the same thing happened. Serial, same thing happened. Mm-hmm. All of these movies, it's and what was that terrible one that we just watched? Falling in Love Again.
Falling in Love Again.
Where it's just like, these people do not belong together. Why are they ending up together at the end of the film? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this is a turning the corner on that. This is the first time where someone said, hey, divorce isn't worse than cheating or hitting your spouse. It turns out divorce is a healthy part of ending a bad relationship. So I thought it reminds me of the Louis C.K. bit, the no good marriage ever ended in divorce or something like that. Because after he got divorced from his wife, people would say like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he's like, why? Yeah. We're both a lot happier now. Yeah. Still probably a thumbs down from me. Because I wouldn't ever say to someone, you should go check this out.
Oh, yeah. No, I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. Yeah, no. It's
enjoyable enough, but it's not a recommend.
It's a down.
Yes. Where are we going letterboxd-wise, Richard?
I have this at 127.
Okay. Out of 150, we're at our... What did you call it? The
sesquicentennial? Sasquatchatennial?
I think that has to do with years, though, right?
Or
you know what the annual part means? Sesquiepisodic, episodal, Sasquatch episode.
Anyway, it's at 127, right below the children and right above Nothing Personal. I almost rather watch someone club a seal than watch this movie.
No.
Almost.
It is the worst. That is the worst movie.
Is that at the bottom of your list?
Yes. I don't know where to put this one. Okay. I think I'm okay with this position. Shit, I can't say that before I say I have it at 69.
Perfect.
I have to move it. God damn it.
No, it's fine at 69. You can't pick based on the number.
Because something already was 69.
All right. So I have it in 81st place. It is just below Fade to Black and just above The Hollywood Knights.
All right. I have it in 119. That is just below How to Beat the High Cost of Living and just above Witch's Brew. I think that's about everything for this one. If you guys have any thoughts you'd like to share with us, we are Vintage Video Pod on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Letterboxd, where, as I've said before, you can find each of our full movie rankings for the year. We can also be found at vintagevideopodcast.com. Please consider rating us on iTunes to help people find the show, and if you take the time to leave us a review, we will thank you personally in an upcoming episode. If you're feeling especially generous, you can also support the show through patreon.com/vintagevideopodcast. Because this is our first episode of the month again, I wanted to remind our listeners about our Patreon campaign for anyone who hasn't had time to check it out. We have a couple tiers. Vintage Video will always be free to listen to, but if it's worth it to you, a donation as small as $1 a month is greatly appreciated. We are into December now. We've been doing the show for 11 months, and this is our 150th episode. We are averaging close to 14 titles a month, which means for the $1 a month tier, you're donating 7 or 8 cents per episode. We also offer a $5 tier, which amounts to about 36 cents per film and includes a shout out on the show, a monthly exclusive episode reviewing a title from the 70s, and a hand in choosing each month's film. We've recorded 11 so far, and for January, our second tier members are choosing between 4 titles: The Last Valley, James Clavell's historical drama set during the 30 Years' War, starring Michael Caine and Omar Sharif; The Statue, Rod Amato's British comedy film about a Nobel Prize-winning professor who suspects his wife of cheating when she unveils an 18-foot statue of him with someone else's genitals, featuring appearances by David Niven, Robert Vaughn, John Cleese, and Graham Chapman; Zat, Don Barton's science fiction horror film about a mad scientist who transforms himself into a fish monster, and Zachariah, George Edlund's Western musical about two gunfighters who separate and experience surreal visions on their journey through the West, starring John Rubinstein and Don Johnson, each of which will celebrate their 50th anniversaries this coming January. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in, you can find our campaign at patreon.com/vintagevideopodcast, and if not, I hope you'll at least do us the honor of continuing to listen. Thanks again, and I hope you'll join us next time when we'll be discussing The Competition, which IMDb describes like so. The movie centers on a piano competition whose winner is assured of success. It is Paul's last chance to compete, but newcomer Heidi may be a better pianist. Can romance be far away? Will she take the dive despite the pressure to win from her teacher, Greta, or will she condemn Paul to obscurity?
That sounds terrible.
We leave you now with the trailer for The Competition.
The competition. The most important moment in their lives. When winning
Hey!
isn't everything.
Tell me you're not entered.
I'm entered.
You're so bloody good.
You have no time for her.
And you also do not remember me, and I'm now feeling very foolish.
You have no time for her.
Did you have an itch for me?
Nope.
I think you did, and I think you possibly still do.
That is your first husband. That you marry it. You cleave to it. Because it gives your life a center that no man, that very few men can possibly give you. Have you ever heard of competitive edge, in which one looks for ways to dislike one's opponents?
There are some things that aren't meant to be shared, and this is one of them.
They broke the cardinal rule of the competition. They fell in love.
Okay. So what I really feel about you and me is that we are a corporation. Now, if you win, great. If I win, better. And if neither of us wins, then the hell with it, but the corporation goes on.
If you're really in love, nothing's going to stand in your way. Richard Dreyfuss, Amy Irving, Lee Remick. The Competition.